It's the Elsa Kurt Show with Clay Novak. Conservative views on world news. Brought to you by The Wellness Company. Prepare for the unexpected. And Refuge Medical. And now, it's time for the show.
It's not like I don't see the intro thing counting down. I'm like, oh, I can take that sip really fast. Yeah, I can. No, I can't.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
You should work at NASA. That's
right.
Yeah.
Be so perfect there. Oh my goodness. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Are you ready for Christmas?
Yeah, I love this time of year. I love the cold weather. I love the changing scenery. I do. I love it. I'm a hot weather guy normally, but this time of year, the fall and then into early winter, I do love. And
yeah, I'm better about it now that I go to Florida every month. I don't mind it so much. I mean, at this time of year, I try not to get anxious, but I get anxious anyway. Just travel. That is the weather going to mess things up, but I have to let it go. And I'm doubly like, I still have old superstitions that are just like locked in my brain. And, so I'm like, if I don't think about it, if I don't talk about it, everything will be fine. But at the same time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been really lucky with my travel for the past, probably dozen or so trips. And that's a lot. So odds are starting to get,
Yeah, you just did it.
I know.
You just did it.
I know. Why do I do these things? Yeah. Oh my goodness. So we have a lot of stuff on tap today. Clay was laughing at me.
And not a lot of presidential stuff, which is even better. Spent time in the last few months focused on the election and President Trump. We got a little bit of President Trump. We got a whole bunch of other stuff. And we will kick that off right after this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So jumping right in, I kind of like my title here. Saved. I can't take any credit for it. I saw somebody posted like a meme and it was did you see that? Yes. It was a penny.
Yeah.
So
replace Lincoln's head with his profile. Yeah.
Yes. So good. It was not an original thought of mine. I confess. Not that any of you actually thought it was. I'm sure you didn't. but yeah, what a story, huh? Like this whole thing to me is it's just wild. So I can't imagine that anybody doesn't know what's going on. But Daniel Penny, he's a Marine Corps veteran. He subdued a violent, aggressive man, Jordan Neely, on a New York subway. And the man subsequently died. And now I think it's important to note, if anybody that doesn't know this story, it's important to note that, and it'll matter in a minute, that he was helped by a Black person. And I'm making a point of saying this because there's a reason for making a point of saying that, of course. And he was saving the lives of fellow subway travelers because this guy was threatening to, harm people, hurt people, kill people. But of course, what happened? Alvin Bragg and all of those clowns decided to, make an example of him. I guess that's the only way I can look at it, right? They're like trying to make an example of him. Like, you're not going to do this on our subway.
Yeah. This is a don't take justice into your own hands. That's the angle anyway. I mean, it's no vigilantism, kind of play. And in reality, you could make a lot of arguments along the way in this process. You could argue he never should have been charged, but he was charged. Okay. He was imprisoned. He did spend some time incarcerated, I think, as this process went on, but the system worked to an extent. I mean, he received a trial. It was a jury trial. The jury, there were some challenges in deliberation. And then eventually, he was found innocent of all charges, whether they were dropped or whether he was found innocent, all the charges were removed, and he's been exonerated in what he did. But yeah, you're right. Alvin Bragg, the district attorney, the same guy who went after President Trump. He turned this into a race issue. He turned it into a vigilantism issue. All kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, some common sense prevailed, and Daniel Penny walked away a free man.
Yeah, and it's hard enough to get people to stand up and do the right thing anymore, right? And here's a guy who did the right thing against probably all better judgment, although he has said, we do have a nice clip from him. Just such an unassuming guy. Yeah, so here he is in his own words. Let's watch that first.
I mean, I'm not a confrontational person. I don't really extend myself. I think this type of thing is very uncomfortable. All this attention and limelight is very uncomfortable, and I would prefer without it. I didn't want any type of attention or praise, and I still don't. Mm-hmm. The guilt I would have felt if someone did get hurt, if he did do what he was threatening to do, would never be able to live with myself. And I'll take 1 million court appearances and people calling me names and people hating me just to keep one of those people from getting hurt or killed.
I mean, talk about a good guy, right? Talk about a good guy. And to get villainized, the way that part of the population has done is just despicable. And, as I started to say, it's a discouragement for people to get involved in it. And, we don't need people to be discouraged from helping their fellow man and woman. And, this is the kind of thing that people are going to, if they weren't already thinking twice, this will do it. And again, thankfully, he was acquitted of everything. But once again, not unlike the George Floyd drama, the left tries to paint this guy like he was just this good guy. All he was doing was, he was just on the subway. Not a bad guy.
The three most predominant voices in this, actually, there's four.
Mm-hmm.
Jamal Brown came out, tweeted yesterday. This is an elected official, folks. Representative. This is he's the fire alarm guy. He started his X post with "to all white people." So that in and of itself, I don't even have to say the rest of it. I don't have to read the rest of it. You guys can all imagine, if you haven't seen it, what the rest of that post on X looks like. And it was a threat of violence is really what it was. There was BLM representation there, some of the leadership of BLM making some of the same kinds of violent, kind of overarching non-specific threats. There was a statement by everybody's favorite idiot AOC who said, this is why we don't ride subways, as if this was unprovoked. And then the most outlandish, which is saying a lot for this case, because there's a lot of stuff here. The most outlandish was that young man's father on top of everything. And I say father, I don't say dad, right?
Yeah.
Biological father who essentially
parental unit.
Abandoned him multiple times in his life, left him to be, this young man who was, killed at the hand. And I'm totally in defense of Daniel Penny, but, killed as a result of that chokehold. That kid's mom passed away when he was younger. His dad abandoned him. He never helped him. And now all of a sudden his dad wants a civil suit and he wants settlement for this rigged. Those are his words, rigged, the system's rigged for undying, who he never gave a crap about in the first place. Let's make any mistakes. So, in the wake of this, everybody is kind of showing their true colors. But I think, that clip of Daniel Penny means a lot to an entire generation of veterans.
Yeah.
And I say that because, we, and I include myself in this, as a part of that generation, we all, for 20-year span, Iraq and Afghanistan, a lot of us became pretty intimate with violence. And we are not a violent culture as civilians.
Not at all.
If we were, everybody would know about it because there are literally 20 years of us floating around. Yeah. And Daniel Penny is one of us. So, we're not a violent crowd, but we have the capability. And to apply that selectively the way he did to protect those people, on the subway car. And he said it, he wouldn't have been able to sleep with himself if any of those, if he had not acted and something had happened to somebody on the car, he wouldn't be able to sleep with himself. I can promise you too, for all of you that feel like he's, he is a villain or villainizing him. He knew that this, that application of violence was going to stick with him. He didn't know that he was going to kill somebody as a result, but he knew that this was going to stick with him. We all know that instinctively. And so I'm sure he didn't make that decision lightly. I'm sure he did an instantaneous risk assessment of, this could happen, this could happen, this could happen. But if I don't do anything, this could happen and this could happen. And he acted, and I admire him for it. I congratulate him for it. I know he didn't go into that wanting to kill that young man. I know he didn't.
No, right.
But that was the end result. So, Daniel Penny, while he has been exonerated and found innocent, he'll never be able to go on with his life normally because of the trial and because of the press and everything else. But I can promise you, he is not unaffected by the idea that he took the life of someone else. He's not keeping well because of that or in spite of that. I can promise you.
Yeah, absolutely. And you made such a good point. And I think that is either forgotten or ignored by the civilian population that, for the most part, men and women who have seen and had to perform acts of violence on other people as part of their career or calling, they usually do want to live like really quiet lives. Like they appreciate the vet more than anyone else. I think there's an appreciation for life and for peace. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think Daniel Penny is a perfect example of that. I think, if he would have rather not, if given the option, right, given the choice, he most certainly would 100%. Rather have not, right?
Yeah, without question.
Yeah. And, but this is so typical of the left and the people that they choose to esteem, to put on pedestals. And again, this is another career criminal who they're using as their poster child now. Jordan Neely, let's see, he had mental health issues, a lengthy rap sheet. I think I saw like 44 arrests or something like that, who was threatening people with violence on the train. There are videos of him getting in altercations with people on the street. He was for a period of time, I guess he was a Michael Jackson street performer.
Yeah.
That's, something they did. There's a video of him having an altercation with somebody, attacking them essentially. So this is a really unwell person. And, the big failing here, of course, is our healthcare system and all of that. I think he was homeless at the time, all of the things. Now, he can get tons of sympathy for the conditions of his life that put him in that position. The father, bad or neglectful parenting, a system that cannot help people. They're just overrun by mental health crisis. All of those things, but it doesn't change the fact that he was trying to bring harm on other people. So it's not a point where you sit back and go, oh, well, he's got problems. So we just let him go, let him be, let him, bludgeon somebody or attack them or choke them. Let him do it because he doesn't, he's not well. Come on. It's just absurd. All of it's absurd. And then to take that next step, which is what the left always does, they pick their poster child so that they can incite riots, which didn't work, right? There were some marches. I think there was maybe like a march or something, but nothing like the George Floyd riots. And, everybody, I think, except for these leftist elites, have gotten the memo that this isn't going to fly anymore. Nobody's falling for it anymore. Just your little crew of Looney Tunes who think this is all a good idea and that they're going to drum up their, a cause for themselves. And BLM, they just crept out of the woodwork again. Please go back to your mansion that you bought with everybody's money.
There's a lot of things to, really kind of take a step back and look at. And you hit on a lot of it, but it's like, Jamal Brown, this whole, threats of violence against white people. He says that from an elected office behind a security detail. Right. That guy's never going to, that's never a concern for him.
Nope.
Like Jamal Brown's not riding the subway. Like that's not happening. He's not exposed to that. Right. And so, had this, let's take Daniel Penny out of the picture. Let's say he wasn't on the subway that day. Let's say that, violence, this guy did lose his ass. You know what I mean? He lost his mind and he did hurt somebody on the subway. That would have been local news.
Right.
For one night.
Yeah, exactly.
And then he would have, He would have been arrested.
Mhm.
The person that he assaulted on the train would have been treated and released from the hospital.
Right.
He would have been released on his own recognizance or under some
Exactly.
sort of bail. And then nobody would have heard a single thing about this
Nope.
ever again.
Nope. The
Except for
only
fact
the
that
most, right, the
he
absolute
would have
most you
done it
would hear.
again. He
Right.
would have done it
Absolutely.
again.
He would have done it again and again and again.
Yeah.
And if you heard a blip about it at all, it would be somebody saying something along the lines of, "It's awful how nobody helps, huh? The people just sit around and let it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah.
Shame. If I was there,
Yep.
if I was
Yep.
there, I would have stopped it." Come on, right?
I applaud Daniel Penny, but I also feel for him. I do.
I totally feel for him.
And I really hope, because this, this whole thing has been I'm sure has been a, mental, psychological strain, emotional strain on
Sure.
him. And I hope that he's got good people around him and a good support network, because I
I
know
hope
this
so.
hasn't been easy. So I don't applaud him, and I don't applaud, none of us hope for violence. Nobody
Right.
hopes for what happened, but I applaud him for stepping in, having the courage to do so. And I just, I hope that he comes out of this, okay. Because
Yeah.
anybody who thinks that he's not affected by it really has no
He's clearly affected. Right.
Yeah. They don't understand.
And he's highly recognizable. He's got a very distinct look.
Well, he's
Yeah,
like
and no
6
matter
foot
where.
4. Like the
Yeah,
guy's
I mean,
huge,
you can't miss him. You
Yeah.
can't miss him. So no matter where he goes, he's going to be recognized. It's going to be a long time before this dies down, so to speak. And he's got a rough run. And of course, just on the human level, like you said, just the emotional toll that takes on you, all of it, every aspect of it, the actual, event, the aftermath, all of it. And to know, and just as a social media personality, just people saying mean things to you on the internet in general gives you pause. Like, what? Like, I'm just a person, and you are coming out with the most heinous, vile comments and things to say. And then you have this and the things that people have said about him, and no doubt to him as he's going in and out of anywhere, really, the courthouse, just on the street. That's a lot. That's a lot. That's a lot to take.
Yeah, and it's not going to end for him anytime soon. Like his recognized, his recognizability in public is going to last for a little while. There's a little bit of sting there, and so he's gonna keep feeling this for a while. And sometimes it works against you, right? In Penny's case, it's going to work against him emotionally, but sometimes it works for the good, because sometimes the McDonald's guy figures out who you are.
Yes.
And calls the police.
Yes.
Right?
So I got to say, everything about this story is a head scratcher, like every single part of it. And as you can see by the title, for me, the biggest thing, again, I go back to how the left has responded to any of these events, any of the things that go on, how the left responds to it, and some on the right. There are some people with this particular, there's some people on the right too that have made some eyebrow raising comments and statements and opinions about the whole thing. Here we got a picture of him. Do we have a picture of him or video? Let's see. What do we have? Luigi. Yes, Luigi Mangione, I believe. So yes, he assassinated. I mean, it's no other word for it, really. Murder, of course, but assassinated was what he did. CEO, what's his name again? Clay Bryan.
United Healthcare was who he worked for.
Yeah. Sorry. His name is escaping me. But murders him out in the street, cold blood, just shoots him dead. And manhunt happens. They find the backpack, this and that. There's a reward. And somebody in McDonald's, of all places, identifies him, recognizes him, and calls it in, and he gets arrested. And so the interneted and immediately, right? And immediately dug up, with insight. It's not even digging up, it's just typing the name in the search bar. And, everything from his Goodreads list to his, Instagram or something, we're instantly flooding all of the social media platforms. And he is not what anybody expected him to be, I don't think. Everybody expected him to be technically, honestly, a left-wing loony. And he doesn't seem technically to be either right or left, right? I mean, I don't think he really has It's not a lot of
He,
political stuff from him.
no, I mean, he does come from a wealthy family.
Very
He
wealthy.
is Ivy League educated. He did have some, back surgery and evidently some pain involved, and that's part of what drove him with this. But, there was so much speculation right away, including me. Like, I looked at this and I was like, within hours, I was like, that kid's dead in a ditch. Whoever that is, like, I thought he was paid off. I thought he was, placed as a stooge. And there's still some speculation out there. I don't know if you've seen the unibrow, right? There's the unibrow thing. Like, is this the right guy? There's a lot. There's some, grassy knoll kind of speculation going on out there, and whether or not that this is in fact the right person. But nothing in this added up. There was reports that he had gotten on a bus from Atlanta and come up to New York. He'd been up there for a month. Blah blah blah. And now he's got a manifesto and a ghost gun and a suppressor and all this stuff. It's none of it is really matching up, which is why there's a ton of conspiracy theory stuff going on.
Right.
Because, we've been dumped a ton of information. None of it seems to line up or make sense. And the FBI and the law enforcement community that's managing this hasn't done a great job of, kind of laying things out as they know it. But no, not politically motivated. This is straight up like he hates all medical insurance and specifically United Health. And he decided he was going to kill the CEO as a statement of sorts. And that was, all in his manifesto. He acted alone and all of that other stuff. But the sick part of this is exactly what the banner says. This kid, like, the thing that grossed me out more than anything else, and normally I just shake my head at people, is the amount of women who have. Listen, the cleaned up pictures of this kid when he was in his prime in Ivy League or shortly thereafter, like, he's a fit kid. He's got, pretty good. He's a good looking kid, I guess. And there's a lot of women that, whether joking or not, have been like, there's a picture of him. I don't know if you've seen it. He's like shirtless, maybe hiking.
Oh yeah. That's the one they're all going crazy over.
Yeah.
Like, what is wrong with women? You make me so embarrassed to be part of that.
To see that and be like, oh, Luigi, yeah, he's a murderer, but I can fix him. Like, even as a joke, that's gross. Like, you have a serious problem. But there are people in the, Che Guevara t-shirt wearing community that look at this kid, damn the man. And, he stood up for the little guy. And, there's a lot of that going around. And a lot of, the guy from United Health deserved it, got what he had. I mean, what happened to us? Like,
right?
Seriously.
Right.
What happened to us?
Yeah. I am truly appalled. I'm sickened. I'm genuinely made ill in my heart to see the amount of everything that you said, that they're like two separate but equal factions of this: the female response and the societal response, cheering this on and applauding. And I'm blown away. Like, I can easily, and I think we all can easily agree that we talked about it just moments ago, the healthcare system is horrendous. The insurance companies, horrendous. I mean, there absolutely needs to be a massive overhaul. Murdering CEOs is not part of that plan. Right? Not the solution ever. And this was a human being. And honestly, even if he was a piece of garbage, like, even if he's a really crappy human being, much like Jordan Neely or anyone who has died for any reason, it's never really a reason to express glee.
No.
And there lies a huge distinct difference probably from the left and the right. Overall, no one on the right was applauding and saying, yeah, so glad he killed Jordan Neely. None of that was going on. I'm sure it was going on here and there. People are people. But generally speaking, we don't applaud and honor, those types of things. We see them for what they are: tragic things that could have been avoided and we wish could have been avoided, but we don't wish death on people like that, And here they are, like you said. And again, I'll say the women are so embarrassing. Now, first of all, from a personal perspective, I think the kid looks like Carmine from Laverne and Shirley. So not seeing, I'm sorry, I'm not.
Wow, did you just show your age? Holy cow.
I know the younger people are like, who is she talking about?
Yikes.
Yes. So yeah, so just a little side note, not seeing it, ladies, but whatever. But just the very idea that they are mooning over this guy who is, he's a murderer, guys. He's a murderer. He didn't do, and they love the whole vigilante thing. That's what they're, phrasing or kind of like painting this as, that like he did something
But
for all of us.
that's exactly where the confusion lies. The exact same people that are applauding him for vigilante justice against the CEO are the same people who are attacking Daniel Penny for vigilante justice, which he's not guilty of because he's protecting people.
Yeah.
Like it is so disconnected right now.
So disconnected.
And listen, I literally just today wrote a blog on this, is that we don't know when we as Americans are very selective in when violence is acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
And it really depends on who is, applying the violence and who's on the receiving end of the violence and how we feel about them. Mm-hmm. Like in some cases, and it's all demographics, depends on their race, their age, their sexual, orientation, their wealth, their, status in society. Pick your thing, but people will clap. It's literally, these are two side-by-sides that are perfect, right? Yeah. People will clap for one and cry for the other, and it is literally the same argument on both sides. It's insanity right now.
It is.
And we as Americans don't know. We don't know, and we don't understand, because our media glorifies it. Like the news media glorifies it. The entertainment media makes billions of dollars off of violence.
Yes.
And we continue to think it's okay. You know, we are so broken as a nation when it comes to violence. Like we talked about it. Our gut should always be, that's bad. The application of violence is bad. Now, you do take it on a case-by-case basis through the court system. Right. And you decide if it was, applied appropriately in the, in whatever way, shape, or form. And that's how we fix things. We don't cheer it before we know what the details are. Right. Because here's the kicker. Everybody's talking about this insurance guy making millions of dollars and being, billion dollar corporate CEO, and they're blaming insurance. And, this is why we need socialized medicine. If you go back, and I've seen this, if you go back and you look at the profit increase at United Health, it started to skyrocket when Obamacare started. Right. So socialized medicine built this monster that now everybody's mad at. Yeah. So, again, it's people uneducated, uninformed. They think it's damn the man, Che Guevara, Rage Against the Machine, whatever you want to call it. And it's garbage. It's inhuman is what it is.
Yeah. And you hit on a lot of really important parts about that. And, it just, again, you get that image in your head of lemmings. They're just lemmings that, they give them the little bits of a sound bite essentially to run with. And they're like, oh, okay, now we're all, and I just picture this whole herd. I don't think they're herds, but whatever it is, of lemmings just following whatever, little crumbs that they put out there and tell them to go with, and no thinking for themselves, no research, no nothing. Just blindly following, and they just keep doing it over and over and over again, and it makes me so tired. Like, it makes me so tired, and I feel like I say this like once a month on an episode, that I am so tired of these people just being so foolish, so unbelievably foolish, and affecting everything and everyone with that, infecting everyone with that.
Yeah, and the biggest travesty is if that kid doesn't go to jail for this. Right. Like he should 100% premeditated, knowledgeable. There's a high probability that he's going to be declared incompetent, stand trial, mental deficiency, and he's probably not going to see big boy jail, although he should. Yeah. And I will tell you, as pretty as all these women think he is, if he does go to big boy jail, his life's going to be awful.
Oh gosh, yeah,
awful.
Absolutely. I don't know. He's got
again. I'm not advocating for, right. No, that's not how it's supposed to be. I'm just telling you that reality inside the concrete jungle. Like that kid's, he's in bad shape. Right. But this whole thing, this kid, nobody should be making excuses for him. None. He's from a well-heeled family. He's got an Ivy League education. A bad experience with an insurance company and a failed back surgery of some sort. And I don't care. That's not an excuse to kill somebody. It's not. No. I don't care what anybody says. Never will be.
No, never will. And, as an example, I wanted to pull this one up. I forgot to pull it up sooner, but as an example of just how grotesque these people are, here's a clip from Pierce Morgan, who had a
Oh,
panel on. It was Tommy
yes.
Lahren and a
Yeah.
few other people. And this Taylor Lawrence is her name.
Yeah.
Gross, just a gross, repugnant human being. And here's why.
I do believe in the sanctity of life. And I think that's why I felt, along with so many other Americans, joy, unfortunately, because it feels like.
Seriously?
I mean,
joy in a man's execution?
Maybe not joy, but certainly not empathy. Because again,
we're watching the footage. How can this make you joyful? This guy's a husband, he's a father, and he's being gunned down in the middle of Manhattan. Why does that make you joyful?
Thousands of Americans that being murdered. So are the tens of thousands of Americans, innocent Americans, who died because greedy health insurance executives like this one push policies of denying care to the most vulnerable people. And
so there's the answer. Just kill him. Kill this guy because he just represents all of them. That makes sense.
Yeah. And so when and where does that stop?
Right.
Because Taylor Lorenz, right?
Yeah.
So let's extrapolate this a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've got Taylor Lorenz who's cheering this on.
Yep.
She's supporting the murder of this guy. What if that guy has a family member? What if one of his kids grows up and finds Taylor Lorenz and guns her down and says, well, you advocated for violence against my dad and people like my dad, and that's why my dad was killed, and now retribution against you.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to be joyful about this, her advocating for violence like this in some sort of retribution for a policy that she believes is responsible for the deaths? And I know there are going to be people out there who are going to get worked up about this, and they're going to say, yes, it is. And I don't care. It doesn't justify murder. I don't care.
Yep.
You're never going to convince me that is the solution for this.
No, same. And again, I'll repeat. I think we all agree that the insurance industry needs reform. I'll put it politely and just say needs reform. And I hope, and I truly hope that is going to be something that happens under President-elect Trump. I guess we'll wait and see. But yeah, that is definitely one of the things that needs. But again, to restate, for like the millionth time, I feel like we have to keep saying it, does not justify murdering somebody. Just doesn't. It doesn't. And that they are continuously doing that all over social media. I've seen, meme after meme, post after post, video after video of people, just again, like you made the perfect reference, like the Che Guevara t-shirts, if they're not being made yet, they will be. Somebody will be doing it, and people will buy them. People will wear them.
Yeah, I mean, there's people, I've seen this, whether it's joking or not, or even if the data is accurate or not. And it's like, just in case anybody's wondering, the CEO of Pfizer lives at this address, right? They're they're swatting. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And they're literally putting people at risk. And it's, again, this is not okay, people. It's not okay. Because when society collapses, right, from stuff like this, you get what's going on in the Middle East. Right. You get,
oh my gosh.
You get Syria.
Yeah.
This is what happens. Right.
Right.
You have a collapse of, normalcy. You have a collapse of societal norms with any sort of respect for other people. And this is what you get.
Yeah.
Right. Syria, for, everybody who is or isn't tracking, Assad left. He bailed. He got on a plane and he went to Russia. Right. He went to Moscow because he knew he was protected there.
Right.
Syria has fallen into the hands of rebels. I was standing in a bar this Sunday, participating in a chili cook-off contest where I placed third, by the way.
Nice.
And I had a guy who was like, "Oh yeah, this is Syria's. That's great. Assad needs to be gone, and all these rebel groups, they're going to pull together and they're going to work together and they're going to rebuild Syria." And I looked them dead in the face. I said, "No, they're not."
Right.
You know what a power vacuum is? Do you know what kind of instability that creates? Like all of these groups, this happened in Afghanistan, it happened in Iraq, it happens everywhere, especially in that part of the world. When that global level leader, when that national level leader leaves, is, deposed, dies, whatever, it creates a vacuum. Someone is going to try to fill that vacuum. And in fact, multiple people are going to try and fill that vacuum. And that's when the fighting gets worse.
Yep.
right?
Yeah, it was weird to me. And again, I'm always the first one to confess I know so little of the inner workings of all of that. So I never pretend that I do, but just that was almost a little bit of common sense to me. And I actually did not understand the initial um, cheers to this happening because that was my thought. Like, well, at least he's the enemy, like what's going to come up the pike next. That's a little bit more scary to me because this, like you said, this is already so volatile. This whole area is such chaos, and it's always on the edge of something, and so you don't know what you're going to get. And of course, here we are, and it's it's not good.
Yeah, listen, Assad is, he is Saddam Hussein. He is Muammar Gaddafi. He's the same dictatorial type leader that region has seen dozens of times over and over again.
Right.
He did, in an awful way, provide stability within Syria. Okay. Sure. Because here's the problem right now. One, there's about somewhere between 750 and 1,000 Americans in Syria right now, right? Service members. These aren't tourists. These aren't like, these are service members who have been over there prosecuting targets against ISIS, right? And so now they're sitting in the middle of this. But oh, by the way, do you know what Syria has that we have now lost all accountability and control of? Chemical weapons. Like that, when he bailed and the government fell and all these rebel groups took over, we lost all of that. And I can promise you, this is the same thing that happened in Libya, right? There is a scramble right now.
Yeah.
To try and find, account for, secure, make sure we have all of or have hands on or know where they are, every single chemical munition that we lost track of in Syria because they had them. And that stability that Assad, and again, I'm not saying the guy was awesome because he clearly was not, but we didn't have this as a problem.
Yeah.
This is a new problem that becomes significant very, very quickly. And
we have the present administration, outgoing administration, saying and doing one thing, and we have the incoming administration saying something very different. I'm going to have you speak on all of that. Here is what Tulsi Gabbard had to say about it.
I want to address the issue that's in the headlines right now. I stand in full support and wholeheartedly agree with the statements that President Trump has made over these last few days with regards to the developments in Syria. My own views and experiences have been shaped by my multiple deployments and seeing firsthand the cost of war and the threat of Islamist terrorism. It's one of the many reasons why I appreciate President Trump's leadership and his election, where he is fully committed, as he has said over and over, to bringing about an end to wars, demonstrating peace through strength, and putting the national security interests and the safety, security, and freedom of the American people first and foremost.
So Islamic terrorists who are on a terror list are essentially now in power, correct?
That is correct.
And what's Biden saying about that?
Not a lot.
Mumble.
Essentially nothing.
Yeah.
And so, there's a lot of variables in this. One, we don't care about Assad, truthfully. There's a lot of people who are why did he go to Russia? Is he right? Who cares? Like the guy's gone. If he's in Russia, they're going to put him up in a nice big mansion. He's going to eat well because he's probably got millions of dollars that he stole from Syria. And okay, fine, so be it. Nobody's putting him back into power in Syria. That guy's out of play and it doesn't matter. And truthfully, Russia's role in this matters even less because they don't have any sway or very little. But what we've been doing is we've been minimizing the threat. There has been a number of sorties, air sorties, destroying all kinds of equipment over there that has fallen into the hands of rebels, which again are Islamic terrorist organizations of various kinds. And that's what we've been focusing on because you've got to, the infighting is going to destroy Syria completely. Right. Oh, by the way, those types of groups, when they do come into power, any grudges they have, they're cleaning the books, right? So when the power broker Assad is out and you get somebody else that steps in and they have control of all of the big toys, then they're going to find their first rival. They're going to wipe them off the map. So you're talking the potential, the instability here has the potential for, genocide level killings across Syria, because that's how they settle these things in that part of the world.
Right.
And again, our current administration is doing almost nothing. I'm actually really, really worried about those 750 to 1,000 Americans who I'm sure have been on absolute high alert since all of this happened, probably aren't sleeping very well.
I'm sure.
And we are probably trying to figure out what is the best course of action to get them out of there in the midst of all of this instability. So
now I read, you correct me if this is accurate or not, or if you know if it's accurate. I read somewhere that Biden is looking to take these groups off the terror list. So, what the hell?
Does nothing. That really does nothing, truthfully.
Okay.
Take them, leave them on the list, take them off.
Yeah.
It doesn't change who they are. It doesn't change what their goals are, what their mindset is. I think it does change some legalities and how they can be, how we can manage them. Are they criminal? Are they not? But I think part of that too is one of those groups, if he takes them all off the terror list, right? Yeah. And one of them gains power and they become the legitimate government of Syria.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're worried about no kidding, attacking Syria as a nation versus a terrorist group. It changes the dynamic a little bit. It gives them a little bit of different bargaining power, when it comes to NATO and the UN and things like that. So, I don't know what the best course of action is. All I know is it doesn't lessen the threat of instability or the instability that's going on. And it really doesn't change who those people are, whether they're on the list or not. So
is it safe to say that the Biden administration is going to try and get us involved in this on a larger scale?
They already have. Yeah. That's what all that air power that's been going on over there, that they've been killing vehicles. They've been using, last gen fighters and oh, by the way, an aircraft that all of us love so much that has already been told it's going to retire. The A-10 has been flying around and blowing the crap out of stuff. We're in there killing stuff. Like we've been expending munitions pretty regularly over there. So we are involved now. I hope it doesn't expand. Hope's not a great course of action, but is that a possibility, potential for us to expand our role in Syria? Sure it is. Scary, but that is right up the alley of the current administration.
Right. And it's ultimately all selfish means really to give, and also to give Trump, an absolute, as much of a mess as they could possibly give him and just drop it all in his lap and, walk away, basically, listen, right?
He'll do what he does.
Yeah.
This is one of those cases where he doesn't want to be involved. We've all figured this out, right? He spent the first 4 years as president getting us out of as many conflicts as possible. He's going to do the same thing there. He will be the hammer if that's what needs to happen. If it needs to happen that he comes in and he turns a place into a parking lot, then that's what he'll do.
Right.
That's not what he wants to do, but that's, a solution that's always on the table. So yes, they're dumping this in his lap to figure out the geopolitics of it are bad. The relation with the terror organizations is bad. And oh, by the way, not to make this even worse, but terrorism is back on the rise again with our exfil from out of Afghanistan. That safe haven, that harbor is reinvigorated. Bin Laden's son is one of the people that's organizing this resurgence of the caliphate, and they're trying to, pull all these terrorist groups back together again and, fight the fight against the West. Great job.
Surprise. Yeah.
And Syria plays into it. Syria plays into all of it. So
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. As much as they can dump on Trump when he comes in. And honestly, they're all, the world is already treating Trump like he is the president. Paris was a absolute prime example, the reopening or rededication, reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral after the fire. So they all show up there, all the world's leaders. And of course, Dr. Jill all show up for this, and all eyes, of course, are on Trump. And you termed it perfectly. It was just sitting back and watching how many of them were kissing the ring, and all of them, all of them. Yes. Yes, quite a bit of deference. There seemed to be, at least outwardly, tremendous shows of respect and regard for him. And I will probably venture a guess and say relief that, some real leadership is going to be coming in and the world is taking notice. It was pretty impressive.
Yeah, the last 4 years, as much turmoil as the last, the Biden administration caused within the United States, people don't know or feel the ripples outside. There's a lot of global instability because the U.S. was kind of adrift, with President Biden in charge and really not doing anything and really not talking to anybody. And, oh, by the way, when he did talk to people, it didn't make any sense. And they didn't really know what he was trying to do. And the policies were terrible when they had policies. So now, there's a lot of national global leaders who, whether they like President Trump or not, are just happy that there is somebody who's going to be, in command or leading the United States, the global power, kind of back to some level of normalcy, as opposed to just like not knowing, like, what are we doing? What's the U.S. doing?
Right.
And listen, Macron is not a Trump fan.
No.
Like, he was kissing his ass.
Yes.
This week.
How great! We'll put it up to the video, the handshake video.
Right?
He just shook that little man like a rag doll.
Well, so they've had, and I kind of knew this, but I'd forgotten about it because of the last 4 years. Yeah. They had like a friendly, not friendly kind of thing going where it would be like, who could be stronger? It was the man handshake. Like, crush the other guy's hand kind of thing. And that's been going on for a while. Yeah,
it's so crazy.
This was the reinitiation, like, hey, I haven't forgotten. Right. Like, I'm the big dog and, that kind of thing. So, yes, him and Macron, that little friendly rivalry thing was back on again. It was actually nice to see. And again, Macron's not a fan, but he respects President Trump and his role, not just in the United States, but globally. So it was him. And then Dr. Jill. Dr. Jill looked like she was a little...
There's Dr. Jill. There are a lot of fun little memes going on around about that.
There's another one from a different angle where you're kind of looking over President Trump's shoulder and you're looking right at Dr. Jill, and somebody caught her at the right time and she's got a smile on her face. And the line I keep seeing over and over again is, yep, she voted for Trump.
Yes. I saw another cute one too. Somebody said, get a woman in your life that looks at you the way Jill looks at Trump. Right.
And then you had English royalty was there. Same thing.
Yes. Right? Very warm reception between him and Prince William. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. And so everybody is paying deference, but it's because of the difference in the man. The man standing there filling the role is the capability is completely different. So whether they love him or hate him, everybody knows that now there is at least some stability returning to the United States, and that is good for the world.
Absolutely. It sure is. Yeah. Watching actually all of the videos, the thing that I noticed the most is that every eye is on Trump. Everybody is watching him and looking at him. And, we're talking about world leaders, people who are a big deal in their own right, and everybody's heads turn and they're watching everything that he does. And, then you have Biden, remember the whole thing with him just wandering. Well, I mean, it happens many times, but the wandering off and even treating him like a doddering old man,
This week he was in Africa.
Yeah. Ugh.
He was dead asleep. And everybody's like, oh no, he had an earphone in and he was listening to the translate. Listen, I've done that. Yeah. That's not what that was. And I've fallen asleep in those meetings because they're painfully boring, even with the translation. That man was out. He was out like a light.
So bad.
But, it's a big difference for everybody across the globe. Everybody knows what they're getting. But they also know that this is not the Trump of 4 years ago.
Very different.
Very different.
Very, very different Trump.
Yeah. He knows his job better. He has a lot of his perspective is different. And so they're on notice and they're paying the respects they should. I do want to say one more thing about the Notre Dame. And I didn't know this, but Selma Hayek and her husband, who is some internationally
he's like a mega billionaire.
Yeah. They donated an absurd amount of money to the
really
like $13 million.
Wow.
Yeah. And they were there. They were there at the dedication. They were standing in the back. And I may be wrong. I actually may be underselling how much money they gave to this thing.
Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, she obviously, or not obviously, but she's a Catholic. Her husband's Catholic. Yeah. And I think he may even be French. But they donated a ridiculous amount of money to make sure that Notre Dame got rebuilt to, the magnificence that it holds for a significant portion of the globe,
Yeah.
So
I had
good
no
for
idea.
them.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Listen,
I think she's also, another side note, I think she's actually one of the people who left the country, moved out of the country, supposedly because of him. I don't know if she really did.
Yeah,
they could have just attributed that, and she may have long been out of the country for all I know. But funny.
She's married to a non-American. So,
Yeah,
all those
the
people
odds
say
are.
they're moving out. They're not moving out. They're just moving. They're living in their other house.
Yeah, exactly. They're just staying in their other home for the
But
time.
again, if you're going to be a multi-billionaire, you're like,
Mhm.
and you can pick and choose what you're going to contribute to, stuff like that, I appreciate.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, actually. Wow,
Yeah.
I had no idea. Now we know. I bet a lot of people didn't know that. Thanks, Clay. Let's talk about something a little weird. What the actual heck? What in the heck is going on? This is crazy. I was actually ignoring it at first because I thought, I just thought it was like not conspiracy theories, but just exaggerating something that isn't a big deal, because now everybody's seeing UFOs everywhere. What's the new term we're supposed to use? I forget.
Oh, I haven't heard this one.
Yeah, I don't know. They call them something else. There's I don't know. Somebody in the comments can tell us what the proper new term is for UFOs, because they don't use it anymore, I guess. But anyhow, super crazy. So when I first was hearing about this, now it's been for like a couple weeks, maybe?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I saw some videos on the talk about it. And, again, they're always like these grainy, like, here's a picture. Always these like kind of grainy, shaky videos and stuff. So I just to be honest with it, kind of like rolled my eyes and said, oh, whatever, drones, big deal, get over it. And they've been using the word drones the whole time, actually. They hadn't even been saying UFOs, I don't think. But anyhow, so I saw those, kind of ignored it and said whatever. And then I revisited this whole thing the other day, and I was like, okay, this is actually, it's like making actual national news. They're actually talking about it, so if they're talking about it, that's interesting. But they're like the size of cars, apparently. And nobody knows. They're like mysterious. Nobody knows who's operating them or owning them or whatever. And so what do you know about this? Because I
don't know a lot, truthfully. I know that, drone technology is growing in leaps and bounds. I know that it's being applied in Ukraine in weird and crazy ways on a daily basis. Everything from delivering resupply to bombing tanks to kamikaze to blowing up people, like drones, everything from the cheapest, smallest one as big as your hand to the ones you're talking about, the large scale ones. The application of drones right now is limited by nothing. Truthfully, between 3D printing and people's imaginations, they're coming up with all kinds of uses for drones. Now, this specific case in New Jersey, nobody knows why. And really what bothers me the most is either the state government of New Jersey and the federal government are both like, I don't know.
And what the heck is with that?
They're not doing anything about it. And I know that there's been violation of FAA regulations with these drones.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you about too. Like, there's
regulations for altitude, for airspace management, so that they don't crash in other planes or helicopters or anything like that. It's all regulated.
Yeah,
and it's dependent upon altitude, the size of the drone. There's some licensing that's got to happen, and it very much seems like no one is pursuing this, which that alone makes it suspicious. Like,
right.
Yeah, and again, it's conspiracy theory for whatever you want, but it's been repetitive for a long time.
And now it's sightings. At first, it was just like New Jersey reporting all of these sightings. And now it's across the country, California, even. I just watched a video on it. California is reporting these sightings and everything. It's definitely weird, definitely concerning. And we're going to have to keep watching this because that's not normal.
Along with the drone technology is also counter drone technology. So there's a lot of, I know even the U.S. military is paying attention. The counter drone technology that's out there being developed right now is, it sounds like stuff from the 1960s Batman. Like it's literally, like guns that shoot big nets. It's like, it's all of that kind of stuff. There's sound waves that are being used where they're, using sound waves to disrupt them. They're trying to jam, reception as far as controls. There's all kinds of things going on. None of it seems to be applied in any way, shape, or form in New Jersey to figure out what's going on. I don't understand how nobody's captured one of these things yet, knocked it out of the sky,
right?
Art, see who owns it.
Well, I'll tell you what, if they did that in Florida, when it happens in Florida, it's getting shot down because Florida man's going to get it.
Listen, parts of New Jersey are as urban can get, right?
Yeah.
Parts of New Jersey are pretty friggin' rural. So like, I'm surprised that we haven't had that reaction yet, or, you know, dude from Jersey, right? From outside, you know, out in the farmlands hasn't shot one of those things down yet.
Yeah.
And it's probably coming, but I just, the lack of action by the state and federal government on this is really what's most appalling, I think, overall.
Yes. And downright suspicious, really. Like, so to me, that says they're involved. This is from them. They're trying out stuff. So, you know, I don't know, everybody, I want you to throw your thoughts in the comments. Give us your best conspiracy theory on this, because we know they're usually right. Yeah, but seriously, we want to hear what you guys think of that in the comments, because I honestly, that's where my mind goes.
Especially if you're from New Jersey. Like, if
guys, come on.
Seeing this and this is over your house, or please tell us what's going on. Let's get some firsthand accounts if we've got some out there.
Absolutely. And right. And Jersey, and every state and other countries too, because we get visitors from all around when we do our lives. Next week, we're going live. Yay. So same time, same everything. We're going to go live. It's going to be a really casual show. We're going to be just talking about fun stuff and things, answering questions. You can ask us questions. We'll put them up on the screen and answer them as best we can. Whatever's going on news-wise, we'll chat about all that stuff. So it's going to be an ultra casual show, but we really wanted to spend the pre-holiday with you and just have a nice show together. And it's going to be so fun. I'm so excited.
And listen, folks, this is probably the last show for 2024 because, you know, like Christmas and then New Year's, and, you know, Elsa and I are normal people and we have families and like activities, and the holidays gets busy for us too. So live next week, normal time, Thursday evening, right? So East Coast, 9 p.m. And you guys can do the math backwards, 876. And but we will be live just like we did on election night. And then we will and we'll probably see in 2025 after that.
Yes, that's right. You're absolutely right. That's the plan. Yes. Yep. So we're looking forward to it. I'll put the reminders out for you guys to come and join us. I think our high point on election night, I think we were close to like 400 people at one point. Yep. So we're relying on you guys to beat that number. Can we do it? I think we can.
I would hope so. We're not competing against an election. Like, this is play on a Thursday night talking about Christmas. So that's next week. You know, this week, again, lots going on. Happy to have you guys with us. Oh, by the way, we filmed it Wednesday, 3 p.m. East Coast time for our time reference stamp.
Yes. So if anything happened between recording time and then, don't yell at us.
Don't yell at us, please.
You know what's happened, guys, right?
We always love having you. And, you know, this week, obviously last recorded, and then next week live, and can't wait to do that. So what do you think? You good? You happy?
We're good. We're good. That's all I got for today. How about you?
I'm good too. As always for me, folks, thanks for tuning in, and keep moving, keep shooting.
Take care, guys. We'll see you next week.
Combat veteran Terry Davis left a life of violence for the quiet Midwest prairie, but a terror threat pulls him back into action. In Tampa, he makes allies and enemies as the danger unfolds. Relying on his combat-honed skills, Terry faces a threat far bigger than he imagined, unsure of who to trust. One thing is certain: to survive, he must keep moving, keep shooting.
Still searching for the perfect holiday gift? The Elsa Kurt collection is packed with amazing finds, from her best-selling books to hand-picked favorites on Amazon. There's truly something for everyone, and even a treat for yourself. Elsa's exclusive apparel and accessories are perfect for gift-giving or keeping. Find your favorites now and make this holiday season extraordinary. Visit today.